Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Rob, we have got a very special guest on the telephone today.
We have. He was referred to in our previous segment with Dennis Walter, being that Dennis was a veteran of the RockWiz. RockWiz is in town tonight. Costa Hall, and a man who will be centre of the action is Brian Nankervis. Brian, good morning and welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Oh, that is my favourite type of radio show, Rob. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Now, we do need to... There was a stage where you were actually in competition with us when you were doing a Saturday morning show on the ABC, but I'm pleased you've been moved on to another time slot so we don't have to lock heads in battle.
Yes, exactly, 6:30 on a Sunday evening. Hey, how great that you spoke to Dennis Walter. He is, in the RockWiz family, we often refer to Dennis Walter because of the way he performed at our Music Bowl show where we got him to do a little bit of Neil Diamond.
He was remembering his crunchy granola time.
It was incredible. We got one of the great good lords. Always for him because he thanked the band. He referred to the band in the middle of the song. And we often, when anyone says, "What about this band?" we say, "That's Dennis Walter."
Was he singing for the Tree People? That's the important question for the day.
Yes, he's such a champ. I know, he's just great.
And obviously synonymous with this town, hence our... he's officially a friend of the show, Brian, and if you come back a second time, you will be too.
Excellent. That's what I'm aiming for.
Excellent.
Now, Brian, just on that theme, we'll do a bit of double plugging because he pumped your tyres up a bit. He's performing at the Crown. He's got a new album out. We played him singing Hollywood 7 this morning. Now, 10 years ago, if you'd have been told that Dennis Walter's going to punch out a version of Hollywood 7, you'd be thinking, really? But you would have seen a lot of people forced into maybe singing on RockWiz in a genre that they're not overly comfortable with in the finales. Have you seen some really, really good ones?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, we were very, very lucky enough to tour with John English. I reckon it wasn't long before he very, very sadly left the building, and we got him to do Hollywood 7. And it was one of those times when you could see the crew, the techs, the people backstage who often will sit there, lost in a world of a mobile phone. They crept close. They watched. And when John English does Hollywood 7, that is remarkable. But look, in terms of other performances, no, the duets are always pretty great. And when we used to do the TV show, we would rehearse in the Gershwin room in the afternoon, and it was interesting sometimes watching the duets take shape, and what seemed like a good idea on paper often didn't necessarily work out. I remember we had Angry Anderson. We had Angry and Sarah McLeod, Super Jesus, both rockers, so it sort of felt like a good idea. It was a good idea, but they couldn't decide on a song. I think they tried maybe a Joe Cocker song. That didn't work. She wasn't happy. We tried something else that he wasn't happy with, and I'm trying to think whose idea it was. I think it was Angry's idea. He said, "What about Highway to Hell?" And there was a brief moment of silence in the room, and suddenly a couple of fists went into the air, and they performed an incredible version of Highway to Hell.
Oh dear, it's funny stuff. Now let's talk about tonight, because you are coming to town, 7 o'clock in the foyer, and that's when it all gets serious, because one of the great parts about RockWiz is the general public, the average punter, gets to play the game, and you select them.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's been right from the start, Rob, in 2003, when we sort of tried to work out our format. we thought, okay, we've got these great stars and we'll have some up-and-coming artists. What about we involve the audience? And what about if we had a couple of audience members on the panel? They could rub shoulders with perhaps their heroes. We would be involving the audience. That's always good. But then we thought, well, how do we find ones who are not going to, sometimes people get a bit cocky and say, look, you've got to speak to my girlfriend, or my husband is a ripper, and then they get on the panel and they know nothing. They're struck by stage fright. So we thought, right, if we do a couple of rounds of questions before the show, maybe we'll find the best. So when we do the live shows, we have some tickets hidden under seats, so that's always fun, look under your seat. But I also come out into the foyer and I run a couple of pretty loose rounds of quizzes, and I try and find ones who will then be part of the pre-show. So if you're coming to Costa Hall tonight, I will be in the foyer from around about 10 to 7, and I'm looking for rock brains. I'm looking for the super freaks that make our show pretty special. So, last night in Bendigo, I remember I had one more wild card, we call them wild cards, to go, and I thought I might just nick out the front and see if there's anyone out here who's yet to come in. I had my megaphone, I called for it, and this young bloke put his hand up. He said, oh yeah, I'll have a go. And I said, well, you've got to prove yourself. So I ran a few questions past him. He was a champ. I gave him the wild card. He ended up getting through and covering himself and his family in glory.
Yeah, magnificent. So 10 to 7 tonight, get to RockWiz. If you haven't got tickets, Brian, where do we get them?
I think, well, just go to RockWiz Live on your favourite device, or I think you'd probably ring Costa Hall, or you'd turn up. There was a big show that was happening around the Geelong area.
There was, and there may be a lot of people in accommodation twiddling their thumbs thinking, oh, Crowded House aren't on tonight. What are we going to do in Geelong? Well, now you know. You're going to go to RockWiz at Costa Hall.
Yeah, that'd be great, because it's the third of 4 regional shows. We're actually feeling pretty good, Rob. We did really, really good last Friday at Hamer Hall. We then jumped on various planes and went to Byron, and we did 2 shows at Blues Fest. And we did Warrigal on a Thursday night, Bendigo last night, and tonight we're in Geelong.
Magnificent.
And you will be treading the boards 3 days after a chap called Paul Kelly. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work, Brian. He was on Costa Hall stage on Wednesday night.
Oh, did you go?
I had tickets about 15 years ago when it was first put on, and it was deferred and deferred and deferred, and then unfortunately I had to sell my tickets. They were second row tickets.
Oh.
And I didn't make $1 out of it. That's the really disappointing thing.
Well, that's the sort of man you are.
But hopefully we'll see your smiling face tonight. I'll be ducking and weaving at 10 to 7. I'll tell you what, I'll be hiding, just in case.
Now, we've got one candidate for you, Brian, tonight. I'm going to be pushing him forward. I reckon he'll be sitting up in the chair with the big guys.
Excellent.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Hey, Rob.
We will see you tonight. And everyone else, get on the Google box, go to RockWiz website, RockWiz Live, follow the prompts, get yourself a ticket, and be there at Costa Hall tonight. Best wishes.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
See you,
All the
Brian.
very best.
Bye-bye.
Brian Nankervis there from RockWiz, and the ABC does a program 6:30 on a Sunday night